Good afternoon. I'm back again, as usual, surrounded by my friends. Walter hovering a bit to one side. I don't know whether you can see Sammy's skull sitting on my desk, and behind me on the other side, I've got the loon, and Billy Bones is hanging over him. We've come to the end of the second book that I wrote, Where's the Rest of the Body? And it's interesting to me because they've caught the killer. Things have been decided. The killer has entered a plea bargain, and she's going to go away to a mental institution until, I guess, they deem her fit for society. Now, this book is based in 1933, and she's probably going to have a long stay there. I guess the thing that bothers me about this, and there's no easy way around the problem, because she did murder her parents, cut them into pieces. She did murder another woman. But at the same time, the person that we met, who inhabits her mind most of the time, is innocent. Henny McCann is an American citizen. Henny McCann married Dr. Frank McCann and lived in Illinois. Henny McCann had almost forgotten about the existence of that other evil person. So here now we have Henny McCann charged with murder when it's really Nancy Featherston that did it. Of course, we saw Nancy surface when things got tough. We saw Nancy make the bargain, and Nancy deserves to be punished, but Henny doesn't. But when there's more than one personality involved, you do the best you can, and I think that's what the justice system tried to do in this case. Now, there were some more things in this story, and when I finish the story, I usually wrap it up a little bit. And in this particular story, it's ended, early spring, late summer, late in the spring. It was before June. And here's a note. Georgie and Joel were married on Saturday, June the 3rd. It was a beautiful day, and at 2 o'clock it was 93 outside. Remember, 93 Fahrenheit. That's all they knew at that time. That's what was used in the colonies, quote unquote, or in the Dominion of Canada. Sylvia was the maid of honor, and Jay was the best man. They were the best friends of Georgie and Joel. And baby Brad was there, and he tried to be the ring bearer. He needed a lot of help. If you recall the start of the story, baby Brad, back in the end of 1932, was present when his mom and dad and Joel and Georgie came back from the field when the severed arm had been found in the field. That's where the story started. As a master of ceremonies, Jay was in his element. There were many toasts and many funny anecdotes. Unfortunately, most of the anecdotes presented me, this is Joel speaking, presented me as a bumbling young man. He noticed that his wife Georgie wildly applauded at each of these funny stories. That was June. In July, Joel's younger brother Ralph, who was quite a ball player, as you may remember if you listened to the first of my books, received a tryout with the Cleveland Indians, and it was successful. And he's now playing third base in Class C in the Middle Atlantic League with the Zanesville Grays, a real team. His mother, that's Joel's mother and Ralph's mother, wouldn't let him go until he finished his final exams. It's a 7-hour drive to Zanesville, Ohio from Chaseburg. 3 carloads of them went down to see him play on Saturday, July the 22nd. Ralph got 2 base hits and Zanesville won the game. That was in July. In August, Judge Bernard handed the sentence down. It caused a lot of controversy in the community. Many older people who remembered the Featherstons were of a mind of an eye for an eye. Hardly any of them remembered Nancy Featherston. Remembered she spent most of her time out of the area from the age of 11 on. One of the local newspapers detailed the inquest and revealed the abuse that Nancy Featherstone had been subjected to as a child. And as a result, some of the local people understood why the judge pronounced a sentence of imprisonment in a secure psychiatric facility for Nancy Featherston, also known as Henny McCann. Johnny Polizzi and Ernie Stanzio, they gave testimony at the inquest. It was important because they connected Nancy Featherston to Henny Allenby. Dr. Kreisgoff also testified, demonstrating that the accused was mentally incapable of a good decision. The news story drew great interest from the Toronto Daily Telegraph and the Chicago Tribune. Well, here we are even after August. Joel reports that he and Dr. Kreisgoff meet once a month. They visit a few special patients at the London Asylum for the Insane on the second Wednesday and Thursday of every month. They're meeting there because Dr. Kreisgoff is trying to educate Joel in the way the human mind works if it is psychotic. That's the end of that story. The next book I wrote, the third book in the series, is Terror on the Way. Now, I'm going to take a break from these broadcasts, but Terror on the Way is an interesting book, and tell you a little bit about it. Here's a synopsis of it. This time it's the autumn of 1933, and Georgie's had enough of Joel's nightmares. Isn't it amazing that Joel, a hero in our story, suffers from the same kind of sleep problems that I do? I've suffered from something called, I guess it's RBD, probably for most of my life, and didn't know it until my wife started to shake me awake and tell me to quit punching and kicking. Because most people, when they go into deep sleep, their physical actions are, I suppose, dampened. They don't act out. But some of us, like myself, do act out. And so if I'm fighting in my sleep, I may end up punching or kicking or wrestling. So when that happens, my wife tries to wake me up or she gets out of bed. I'm not the only person who suffers from this, but it's not pleasant for your partner. Okay, some people have been badly hurt by their husband or wife who suffers from that disease. Well, that's how the book Terror on the Way starts. Because in this book, Joel is contesting with an evil presence, and that presence lasts from one end of the book to the other. There's a second theme in the book, and that's about what's happening at the local furniture factories in Chaseford, aka Stratford. This is during the Great Depression, and there were so many thefts from the furniture factories and so much disruption that Mayor Thompson called the army in to put down what he considered civil unrest. Well, if you look into the history of Stratford, you'll find that happened. Of course, the names of places have been changed a little bit, but that happened. So we've got two stories going on in that book. And of course, we still have Walter around and the Essence, and we still have Joel with his great ability to find and solve murders. So I won't be continuing with that book for a little while. I'm going to interrupt that for the time being, but I'll just, there it is. There's Terror on the Way. And as I said, that's the third book in the series, and right now, today, I'm actually working on hopefully finishing the 38th book sometime within the next week or so. 9 have been published and they're available at Amazon. The others are manuscripts sitting on my shelf. They all fit together, one after another, same people, things happening to them in their lives too. Now, if you do want to get in touch with me, then there's how you do it. You can contact me, and I'm only too glad to speak to you. And thank you very much for listening to me through these adventures. There are many more to come.